Hey guys, what's up? It's Jeremy the Teen Therapist, and today we're going to be talking about depression. Now, I don't want you to use this video as a way to diagnose yourself with depression, but we're going to talk about what depression is and what depression isn't. Last time in my video, you didn't get to see Rufio. This right here is Rufio, and Rufio is my office dog. And this is Scout. Scout is not allowed in my office because he's not that well behaved. The purpose of this video is to give you kind of an overall brief description of depression. Now, in other episodes, we'll kind of go over depression a little bit more, but I just want to give a brief overview. So depression is a serious issue. Thousands of people in the United States suffer from depression. So it's important to kind of figure out what is and what isn't depression. Today, depression is kind of used interchangeably or synonymous with just feeling sad. And while sadness is part of being depressed, it's not the only symptom of being depressed. It's a much larger issue than just feeling sad. People who are depressed usually feel super irritable, meaning they get angry really easily. Sometimes they sleep way too much and have really low energy. They feel like they can't get out of bed. The things that they used to do that gave them a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure just don't really give them that much joy or happiness anymore. Appetite, how much a person eats, goes down, or sometimes it actually increases when they're feeling depressed. So there's a myriad of different symptoms for depression. It's not just feeling sad. What causes depression? Well, there's tons of things that cause depression. It could be situations, it could be genetics. Sometimes in your family you have generations, grandfathers, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, people who suffer from depression for a really long time, and it can get passed down from person to person. You're more susceptible to depression if it runs in your family than somebody who it doesn't run in their family. But really, there's no one thing that causes depression. So that being said, how do we combat depression in therapy? Like, what are we going to talk about if you come in feeling depressed? Well, there's a lot of things that we can do in therapy to kind of combat your depression. First, we have to figure out if you are actually depressed. I personally do that by sometimes giving what we call diagnostic tests. And that kind of gives me as a therapist a baseline for whether or not you actually are depressed or not. Now, from there, I usually like to use something called CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. The reason why I use CBT a lot is because it's scientifically backed, meaning that science has proven that it works about 80% of the time. And that's a pretty high percentage for any type of therapy. So that's a modality that I really like to use. What we want to do in CBT is look at the thoughts that you're having and see if we can kind of change your thinking pattern. It's not just as simple as like, oh, we'll think positive thoughts, because that's not really helpful for anybody. You're actually looking at your thoughts and whether or not they're based in any type of reality. So a lot of people who are depressed will say things like, nothing feels good, or, nothing in my life is going well. And so as a therapist, I'll go, okay, well, let's look at that. Is anything in your life going at least okay at this point? And some people will be like, well, this is going okay. Okay, so the statement that nothing is going right in your life, is that true? And oftentimes they'll go, well, not really. And I'll say, okay, so when you say that to yourself, how does it make you feel? And I go, well, I feel hopeless. And okay, so you feel hopeless, so then what do you do? Well, I don't talk to anybody, and I'm like, okay, so how does that perpetuate your depression? So what we try and do is change that thought up. It would be something like, what's a more realistic thought than nothing in my life is going right? It could be something like, well, some things are going right in my life. And when you change the thought, you often change how you feel. If you go from feeling like nothing in your life is going right to some things are going right, that makes you feel a little bit better about your life, and then you feel a little bit more motivated. Now, it sounds really simple, and in some terms it is, but it's really hard to change those thinking patterns. So it's something that requires a lot of work. Now, where some people really get hung up on it is that it requires take-home work. And anytime a teen hears, I have to do stuff at home, they automatically hear homework. And that's like a dreaded word. But if you really want to work on your depression, you have to work on an outside of a therapy session. I get to see you maybe 1 hour a week, and you're inside your head building these thought patterns, 16, 17 hours of the day. So you really need to work on it outside of therapy. If you are feeling depressed, you need to talk to somebody that you trust, whether that's a friend, a parent, a teacher, a school counselor, and at least try and get help for it. Most people who are struggling with depression wait on average of about 10 years from the first symptoms of depression until they finally go to a therapist. And as a therapist, working with somebody who's been feeling depressed for 10 years, that's a lot of work to be done. So it's best to find help as soon as you start feeling symptoms of depression. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I hope this video provides some more information for you. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and leave any comments you want to down below. Thanks, guys.